I never imagined the week before college would change everything. My bags were packed when my parents called me to the kitchen table with strange expressions. Their words hit like a physical blow. 4 years of tuition savings gone to my brother Jake for his business venture. They smiled expectantly, waiting for me to express pride in supporting family. Instead, I quietly stood up, grabbed my packed bags, and walked out the door. That single decision launched me toward a future none of us could have predicted. Throughout high school, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously. Weekday mornings at the local coffee shop before classes, evenings at the hardware store, weekends mowing lawns in summer, and shoveling snow in winter. Every paycheck went straight to my college fund. My parents had promised to match whatever I saved, constantly praising my dedication while reminding me how education would change my future. "Marvin, your work ethic is incredible," my father would say, patting my shoulder after 16-hour days left me nearly sleepwalking. "Keep this up, and with our matching contribution, you will graduate debt-free." My academic performance never suffered despite the grueling schedule. I maintained a 3.8 GPA and secured a scholarship covering half my tuition. My guidance counselor called it remarkable. I called it necessary. Jake, my 29-year-old brother, lived a completely different reality. Since dropping out of community college his freshman year, he had cycled through 5 different business ventures. The juice bar that closed after 6 months. The specialty dog walking service for wealthy clients that never materialized beyond business cards. The smartphone app that never launched. The online dropshipping store that shipped exactly 12 orders. The fitness coaching program that attracted 3 clients before folding. Each failure was explained away with market conditions, timing issues, or lack of capital. Each time my parents nodded sympathetically and offered encouragement for his next great idea. The conversation that changed everything happened exactly 3 days before I was scheduled to move into my college dorm. "Marvin, we need to discuss something important," my mother began, her fingers nervously tapping the kitchen table. "Your brother has developed an incredible business concept, a real game changer this time." My father nodded enthusiastically. "A subscription service for customized nutritional supplements based on DNA testing. The market potential is enormous." I waited for them to connect this to me somehow. The connection came swiftly and brutally. "The thing is," my mother continued, "Jake needs immediate capital for manufacturing and marketing. The opportunity window is small, with competitors looking at similar concepts." My father cleared his throat. "We made the decision to invest your college fund into his business." The silence that followed seemed endless as I processed their words. "My college fund? The one I worked 3 jobs to build? The one you promised to match?" "All of it," my father confirmed. "This is actually better than college, son. When the business takes off, your investment will multiply several times over. Consider it practical business education." My mother reached across to squeeze my hand. "We expect you to be proud of supporting your family. Jake will employ you during summer breaks. This is how successful families work together." The crushing betrayal nearly took my breath away, but something worse followed. "We already transferred the money last week," my father added, "including your portion from the joint account." The room spun around me, my personal savings, the money I had earned from countless early mornings and late nights, the joint account they had convinced me to use to make college expenses easier to manage. "You took my money without asking me?" My voice sounded foreign even to myself. "We made a family decision," my father replied firmly. "Sometimes parents need to make choices for the greater good." I saw clearly in that moment how they viewed me versus Jake. He was the visionary deserving support at any cost. I was the reliable workhorse expected to sacrifice without complaint. Rising from the table, I walked to my room without another word. Fortunately, my bags were already packed for college. I added a few more essentials, collected important documents from my desk, and walked out the front door, while my parents were still discussing Jake's brilliant business model in the kitchen. My phone buzzed continuously as I walked to my best friend Tyler's house. 12 missed calls within 20 minutes. 23 text messages demanding I return home immediately to discuss my immature reaction. Tyler's parents listened in shocked silence as I explained my situation on their front porch. They immediately offered their guest room for as long as you need it, displaying more parental concern than my actual parents had shown. I honestly don't know what to do next, I admitted, the reality of my situation sinking in fully for the first time. Tonight, you sleep, Tyler's father said firmly. Tomorrow, we figure out the next steps. The following morning, I made the painful call to the university admissions office, explaining that I needed to cancel my enrollment mere days before classes started was humiliating. The sympathetic administrator confirmed what I already feared: my scholarship would be reallocated to another student. The cancellation fees would be charged to my nearly empty checking account. We can defer your admission for 1 year, if your circumstances might change, she offered. Thank you, but I think I need to pursue a different path, I responded, having no faith that my parents would honor any future promises regarding my education. Tyler's parents insisted I take 2 weeks to regroup before making major decisions. I used the time to apply for every entry-level job within walking distance of their suburban home. The responses were consistent and discouraging. We need someone with more experience. Do you have any college credits? We're looking for someone with a degree. 2 weeks stretched into 3. I expanded my search to include positions requiring an hour bus ride. The results remained the same. My high school diploma and work experience at service jobs counted for little in the professional world. In desperation, I reached out to my former teachers. My computer science teacher, Mr. Wilson, responded immediately. Come by the school tomorrow afternoon, his email read. I might have something for you. Mr. Wilson had always shown special interest in my aptitude for logical problem solving, despite my limited exposure to actual programming. His classroom had been a sanctuary during lunch periods, when I would experiment with coding rather than socialize in the cafeteria. My brother David runs a tech startup downtown, he explained when I arrived at his classroom. They need someone for basic administrative work, filing, answering phones, organizing the office. Not glamorous, but it would get your foot in the door of the industry. The pay was minimal, barely above minimum wage, but it was a lifeline I desperately needed. They have flexible hours that might allow you to take community college classes, he added. I appreciate it more than I can say, I replied, accepting the recommendation without hesitation. The startup occupied half a floor in a converted warehouse. Exposed brick walls, open workspaces, and the constant buzz of young professionals working on projects I barely understood. David Wilson interviewed me personally, making it clear that his brother's recommendation was the only reason I was being considered. We normally hire college students for this position, he explained. But Tom says you have potential. The job is yours if you want it. I started the next day, absorbing everything around me like a sponge. Filing paperwork gave me insights into project structures. Answering phones taught me industry terminology. Organizing the supply room provided opportunities to observe developers at work. During lunch breaks, I would sit quietly near groups of programmers, listening to their discussions about coding challenges. After hours, when most employees had left, I would stay behind to clean up the break room and secretly practice coding on an unused workstation. Living on such minimal pay required extreme budgeting. I found the cheapest possible room for rent, sharing a house with 4 strangers. My diet consisted primarily of ramen noodles, supplemented with eggs for protein. I walked 5 miles daily rather than paying for bus fare. Every spare dollar went into a new savings account at a different bank than my parents had access to. Tyler kept me updated about family matters, functioning as my reluctant informant. Your parents came by again yesterday, he reported one evening. They want your new address. I told them I promised not to share it. How is Jake's business progressing? I asked, not really wanting to know but needing to. They make it sound like it's going to be the next Amazon. Your dad bought a new car, actually. Said the business had a successful first round of funding. The information stung, reinforcing that my sacrifice had directly improved their lives while I struggled for basic survival. I pushed the bitterness away, focusing instead on learning everything possible at the startup. 3 months into my employment, a development I never anticipated occurred. Jake appeared at the reception desk where I was sorting mail. So this is where you've been hiding, he said, looking around the office with obvious disdain. How did you find me? I asked. Already suspecting Tyler's parents had finally relented to my family's pressure. Does it matter? You need to come home. This little tantrum has gone on long enough. Several employees looked up curiously from their workstations. I'm working, I stated flatly. This isn't a good time. Jake leaned closer, lowering his voice. Look, I know you're upset about the money, but you need to understand something. Mom and Dad didn't just give me your tuition match. When that wasn't enough, they took out a second mortgage and used their retirement funds too. They've gone all in on my business. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Not only had they stolen my education fund, but they had gambled their own financial security on Jake's track record of failures. That was their choice, I replied, struggling to maintain composure, just like leaving was mine. You selfish little, Jake hissed, before catching himself. This is tearing the family apart. Mom cries constantly. Dad is stressed about the mortgage payments, all because you're too proud to support your brother's success. I think you should leave, I said, standing firm. I have work to do. Work? Filing papers and answering phones? While I'm building a multi-million-dollar enterprise? His voice rose, attracting more attention. You could have been part of something extraordinary. Instead, you're nothing but an office gopher. David Wilson emerged from his office, having overheard the commotion. Is there a problem here? He asked, looking between us. No problem, Jake replied with artificial politeness. Just a family discussion. This is a place of business, not a venue for family disputes, David stated firmly. I'll have to ask you to leave. Jake glared at me as security was called to escort him out. This isn't over, Marvin. Family obligations don't disappear just because you're angry. As he was led away, I realized the true extent of my family's financial gamble. They had leveraged everything on Jake's latest venture, expecting me to sacrifice my future without complaint. The knowledge strengthened my resolve to build something independently, without their manipulation or conditional support. 6 months passed in a blur of work, self-teaching, and adaptation. My role at the startup gradually evolved beyond administrative tasks. When the office printer network repeatedly malfunctioned, I spent a weekend researching the system and implemented a solution that saved thousands in potential replacement costs. When the company website needed content updates, I volunteered to learn the content management system. When junior developers complained about repetitive data entry tasks, I created simple scripts to automate their workflows. Alexis Parker, a mid-level developer who had started at the company just a year earlier, became an unexpected ally in my professional development. You have a natural talent for this, she commented, after watching me troubleshoot a server issue. Why aren't you pursuing a computer science degree? I gave her the abbreviated version of my circumstances, expecting pity. Instead, she offered practical assistance. I can help you learn actual development skills after hours, she proposed. In return, you handle some of my documentation tasks. Deal? Our arrangement proved mutually beneficial. 3 evenings weekly, Alexis guided me through programming fundamentals, moving quickly from basic syntax to practical applications. Her teaching style focused on building working projects rather than theoretical concepts, accelerating my learning curve dramatically. You think differently than most beginning programmers, she observed. You approach problems from unexpected angles. That's valuable in this industry. My confidence grew along with my skills. Small coding assignments from Alexis led to handling minor bug fixes for the development team. Rather than announcing my expanding capabilities, I quietly addressed issues that arose, establishing myself as a reliable problem solver. The defining moment came unexpectedly during a major system outage. The company's client portal crashed during a demonstration for potential investors, creating panic among the executive team. The senior developers were attending a conference, leaving only junior staff to address the crisis. The database connection is completely corrupted, one junior developer announced after an hour of investigation. We need to wait for the senior team to return tomorrow. The investors need access today, David reminded everyone, stress evident in his voice. We cannot afford to postpone. While others debated postponement strategies, I quietly examined the system logs, identifying a pattern in the error messages. It looks like the authentication protocol was updated, but the connection strings weren't modified accordingly, I suggested hesitantly. If we adjust these parameters, it might restore functionality. The room fell silent as everyone turned to stare at me, the administrative assistant, offering technical solutions to a critical system failure. Based on what expertise? Asked a skeptical developer. Let him try, David interjected. We have backups if something goes wrong. Feeling every eye in the room on me, I made the necessary adjustments to the configuration files. The system required a restart, generating tense minutes of waiting. When the portal reloaded successfully, the relief in the room was palpable. David pulled me aside after the crisis passed. How long have you been capable of that level of problem solving? I've been learning in my spare time, I admitted. Alexis has been mentoring me. Starting next week, you're a junior developer, he declared. Your salary will adjust accordingly. The promotion tripled my income overnight. I moved from my shared housing situation to a small but private apartment. For the first time since leaving home, I purchased new clothes rather than relying on thrift store finds. I started building a proper emergency fund while researching community college courses to formalize my education. With new financial stability came the mental space to work on personal projects. During a particularly frustrating inventory management issue at work, I recognized a broader problem affecting many small businesses. Existing inventory systems were either too simplistic for growing companies or prohibitively expensive and complex for smaller operations. The middle market remained largely underserved. Nights and weekends became dedicated to developing my own solution, a flexible inventory management system that could scale with business growth. I approached the project methodically, creating something that addressed the specific pain points I had observed through client interactions at work. Tyler's occasional updates about family matters continued, though I requested minimal information. Jake's business launched officially, he reported during one of our monthly dinner meetups. Your parents hosted some big party at their house for his investors. They showed me the website and product packaging. Looks professional, I guess. I nodded, unsurprised that appearances were being prioritized. Jake had always excelled at creating impressive facades for fundamentally flawed ventures. They asked about you again, Tyler added cautiously. Your mom said to tell you they're proud of you for finding your way, and they'd love to hear from you. The statement contained no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, no apology for the theft of my savings, no recognition of the trust they had broken, just a convenient pride in my independence now that I was no longer actively challenging their decisions. Thanks for letting me know, I replied neutrally. My focus remained firmly on building my skills and developing my side project. The inventory system evolved steadily, incorporating feedback from Alexis and addressing increasingly complex business scenarios. Then came the unexpected announcement that rocked the entire company. Our startup was being acquired by a larger tech corporation. While most employees celebrated the news as validation of their work, uncertainty quickly followed. Acquisitions typically resulted in restructuring and redundancies. As one of the newest technical hires, my position seemed particularly vulnerable. The acquiring company sent representatives to evaluate existing projects and personnel. During a demonstration of our client portal, I was asked to explain some custom features I had implemented. My straightforward explanations and obvious passion for efficient solutions caught the attention of their chief technology officer. The inventory management module is particularly impressive, he commented. It solves several integration issues we've been struggling with. Actually, that section was primarily developed by Marvin, David noted, surprising me with the public credit. What nobody in the room knew was that the inventory management approach I had implemented at work was a simplified version of the system I was building independently. The sophisticated features I had developed for my personal project far exceeded what I had incorporated into the company platform. As the acquisition process continued, a startling realization emerged. The new parent company planned to discontinue certain services our clients relied upon, including specialized inventory management tools for smaller businesses. The exact market segment my personal project was designed to serve would soon be abandoned by our new corporate owner. My side project suddenly held potential beyond my original vision. What began as a learning exercise could become a genuine market solution. The path forward came into sharp focus, bringing both opportunity and significant risk. The acquisition finalized with the expected consequences. Nearly 30% of employees received severance packages, primarily in departments with functional overlap. The development team faced substantial restructuring, with most senior developers recruited to the parent company and junior staff facing uncertain futures. To my surprise, I received an offer to remain through the transition period, primarily to maintain the systems I had helped develop until they could be properly integrated or decommissioned. Your knowledge of the inventory management system makes you particularly valuable during this phase, explained the transition manager. We need 6 months to migrate existing clients. The temporary reprieve came with an unexpected opportunity. During a system handover meeting, I demonstrated the inventory management features to the acquiring company's technical team. The CTO expressed genuine interest in my approach to several complex reconciliation issues. This solves problems we've been grappling with for over a year, he remarked, examining my code. Your solution is elegantly simple. After the meeting, he approached me privately. What are your plans after the transition period? I'm exploring options, I replied cautiously. I'd like to discuss bringing you into our development team permanently, he offered. Your problem-solving approach aligns with what we need. The offer was flattering and would provide immediate financial security. However, it would also mean abandoning my personal project, just as its potential was becoming apparent. Before I could formulate a response, another unexpected development occurred. A competitor of our acquiring company somehow learned of my impending availability. Their head of product development contacted me through LinkedIn with an aggressive recruitment offer. We understand you've developed innovative inventory management solutions, the message stated. We'd like to discuss a senior role focusing specifically on that domain. 2 promising job opportunities materialized simultaneously, both offering substantial compensation and professional advancement. Yet something held me back from accepting either one. During sleepless nights considering my options, I repeatedly returned to the same conclusion. My personal project addressed needs that both these larger companies overlooked. After careful consideration, I scheduled meetings with both interested parties and respectfully declined their offers. Instead, I proposed a different arrangement. I'm developing a specialized inventory management system as an independent product, I explained. Rather than joining your team, I'd like to discuss potential integration partnerships that could benefit your clients while remaining independently operated. Both companies expressed interest but wanted to see more than concept documentation. They needed working demonstrations with actual client implementations, proof that my solution could deliver real value. With the transition period providing 6 months of stable income, I focused on converting my project into a market-ready product. The challenge would be finding initial clients willing to test an unproven solution from an unknown provider. Mr. Wilson, the teacher who had initially helped me find employment, provided an unexpected connection. My brother-in-law runs a regional furniture chain struggling with inventory across 6 locations, he explained during a lunch meeting. They need something better than spreadsheets but can't afford enterprise systems. This introduction led to my first actual client meeting. Armed with detailed documentation and prototype demonstrations, I presented my system to the furniture company's operations manager. His skepticism was evident initially, but as the demonstration progressed, his interest visibly grew. What would implementation cost? He asked finally. I had carefully calculated a pricing model that significantly undercut enterprise solutions while still providing sustainable revenue. We'll implement at no upfront cost, I proposed boldly. You pay a monthly subscription only after confirming the system meets your requirements. If it doesn't deliver value within 90 days, you walk away owing nothing. The risk-free proposition secured my first client. The subsequent implementation demanded every waking hour beyond my transition work. Alexis, impressed by my determination, offered her assistance during evenings and weekends. I believe in what you're building, she said simply, and I'm tired of corporate development restrictions. I want to work on something meaningful. Her expertise in user interface design complemented my back-end focus, creating a more polished product than I could have achieved alone. When I insisted on paying for her time, she countered with an unexpected proposal. I don't want hourly compensation. I want partnership equity. 25% ownership for ongoing development contribution. The furniture company implementation exceeded expectations, reducing inventory discrepancies by 78% and cutting order fulfillment time nearly in half. They happily converted to paying customers after just 60 days, providing testimonials that helped secure 2 additional clients within weeks. With proof of concept established and initial revenue secured, I took the leap into full-time entrepreneurship when my transition contract ended. Alexis joined shortly after, bringing valuable enterprise experience and complementary technical skills to our growing venture. Our company operated from my apartment initially, with client meetings held at local coffee shops or their business locations. The overhead remained minimal as we reinvested every dollar into product development and basic marketing materials. 8 months after launching, we secured our most significant client, yet a regional retail chain with 23 locations across 3 states. Their implementation requirements stretched our capabilities, but provided critical insights for future product development. The expanded functionality we created to serve their complex needs made our solution viable for even larger potential clients. Throughout this period of intense professional growth, I maintained minimal contact with my family. Tyler's updates became less frequent as our lives diverged naturally, but he occasionally shared significant developments. Jake's business is having problems, he mentioned during a rare phone conversation. I overheard your dad talking about supplier issues and refunded orders. The information triggered complex emotions. Part of me felt vindicated that the business they had sacrificed my education for was struggling. Another part recognized the significant financial jeopardy my parents now faced, having leveraged their retirement and home equity. My company's trajectory continued upward despite challenging market conditions. As our client base expanded, an unexpected email arrived from a venture capital firm specializing in business software solutions. We've heard impressive feedback about your inventory system from several regional retailers, the message began. We'd like to discuss potential investment to accelerate your growth. The firm's partner, Thomas Blackwood, requested a demonstration and financial overview. During our meeting, he asked penetrating questions about market strategy, development roadmap, and competitive positioning. His expression remained unreadable throughout my presentation. Your solution addresses a clear market gap, he finally acknowledged. But your current operation lacks scale. With proper investment, this could grow exponentially. He outlined an investment proposition that would enable hiring additional developers, establishing proper office space, and implementing aggressive marketing strategies. The terms were surprisingly favorable, maintaining majority control for founders while providing necessary capital. Why such generous terms? I asked suspiciously. Because you've bootstrapped to profitability without cutting corners on product quality, he explained. That's remarkably rare. We see more potential in supporting your vision than imposing our own. After thorough discussion with Alexis and careful review with an attorney, we accepted the investment offer. The capital infusion allowed immediate expansion, including hiring 3 additional developers and establishing legitimate office space. Just as our company reached this critical growth milestone, Tyler delivered the news I had been half expecting. Jake's business filed for bankruptcy yesterday, he reported. Complete shutdown. Your parents are panicking about the second mortgage. The business that had been deemed worthy of sacrificing my education had collapsed entirely, leaving my family in financial jeopardy. The cycle of Jake's failures continued, but this time with consequences far beyond his personal disappointment. 1 year after walking out of my parents' house with only packed bags and shattered trust, I sat in my newly leased office space reviewing expansion plans with Alexis and our growing team. The contrast between then and now seemed almost surreal. From administrative assistant to company founder, from financial devastation to growing success, from betrayal to empowerment. Our venture capital partnership opened unexpected doors, particularly through Thomas Blackwood's industry connections. His introduction to his brother-in-law, who happened to be Mr. Wilson's brother David from my first job, brought our story full circle in surprising ways. I never made the connection until Tom mentioned your background, David admitted during a lunch meeting. The quiet administrative assistant who became a problem-solving developer and then a founder. Remarkable trajectory. His genuine admiration felt validating after the dismissive treatment I had received from my own family. "Your solution actually addresses issues we struggled with at my previous company," he continued. "I'd like to discuss implementing it across our current operations." This endorsement from my former employer, now a senior executive at a major corporation, provided credibility that helped secure meetings with much larger potential clients. Each successful implementation built upon the last, creating a growing reputation for reliability and innovation. Our team expanded strategically, focusing on specialized roles that complemented our core strengths. Each new hire underwent intensive evaluation not just for technical skills, but for alignment with our development philosophy and collaborative approach. The company culture emphasized problem-solving and client satisfaction over rigid processes or unnecessary complexity. "We're building something different here," I explained during team meetings. "Not just another software company, but a solution provider that actually listens to what businesses need rather than telling them what they should want." This client-centered approach resonated particularly well with mid-sized businesses that felt ignored by enterprise software providers. Our growth accelerated beyond even our investors' optimistic projections, creating the need for another funding round to support expansion. As professional success mounted, personal news arrived through increasingly infrequent updates from Tyler. "Your parents are struggling with the mortgage payments," he reported. "The bank sent foreclosure warnings. They're trying to sell the house, but the market's down." He hesitated before adding, "They ask about you constantly. Your mom cried when I mentioned your company was doing well." The information stirred complicated emotions. Their financial struggles resulted directly from their own choices, prioritizing Jake's business over financial security and betraying promises made to me. Yet the thought of them losing their home still created an unwelcome pang of concern. "What about Jake? Is he helping them?" I asked. "He moved to Arizona for some sales job," Tyler replied. "Barely keeps in touch from what I gather." The pattern seemed depressingly predictable. Jake created chaos, then distanced himself from consequences, while others dealt with the aftermath. This time, without my sacrifice to cushion the impact, my parents faced the full repercussions of their misplaced faith. Weeks later, industry recognition arrived in unexpected form. A prominent business technology publication included our inventory system in their annual Software Solutions to Watch feature. The resulting exposure generated interest from several national retailers seeking alternatives to their existing systems. The largest opportunity emerged through a connection from our investor. A national retail chain with over 200 locations needed to replace their outdated inventory management infrastructure. The potential contract would transform our company overnight from regional player to national competitor. "This is the opportunity we've been building toward," Thomas advised during a strategy session. "But implementation at this scale will test every aspect of your operation. Are you prepared for that challenge?" The question gave me pause. Rapid growth carried significant risks alongside opportunities. Many promising startups had collapsed under the weight of contracts beyond their operational capacity. Careful consideration was required before proceeding. "We need to be transparent about our current scale while demonstrating our capacity to grow," I decided. "Let's propose a phased implementation beginning with their highest problem regions." The measured approach impressed the retailer's technology officers, who had experienced failed implementations with larger providers making grandiose promises they couldn't fulfill. Our honesty about capabilities and limitations actually strengthened our position rather than undermining it. "We prefer partners who recognize their constraints and plan accordingly," their CIO explained when authorizing a pilot program across 20 locations. "Ambition tempered by pragmatism is surprisingly rare in this industry." As we prepared for this transformative implementation, my phone displayed an unfamiliar local number one evening. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Marvin, it's Dad." The voice I hadn't heard in over a year created an immediate knot in my stomach. I remained silent, waiting for him to continue. "We need to talk, son. Things have changed. Jake's business, well, it didn't work out as expected." The understatement was almost comical. A complete bankruptcy that lost their retirement savings and endangered their home qualified as significantly more than didn't work out as expected. "I'm listening," I replied neutrally. "Your mother and I would like to see you." Perhaps dinner this weekend? There's much to discuss. The carefully casual invitation contained no acknowledgement of past wrongs, no mention of my stolen education fund, no recognition of the family trust they had shattered. What specifically do you want to discuss? I asked directly. His hesitation spoke volumes. Family matters, reconnecting, moving forward together. The vague response confirmed my suspicions. They wanted something specific, likely financial assistance, but were unwilling to approach the subject honestly. I'm quite busy with work currently, I responded. Perhaps in a few weeks. Your mother misses you terribly, he pressed. She needs to see you. The emotional leverage felt manipulative yet effective, triggering residual family bonds I had worked hard to place in proper perspective. I'll check my calendar and get back to you, I conceded, ending the call before further manipulation could occur. The timing seemed suspicious, given recent publicity about our company's growth. Had they connected my professional success with potential financial rescue for themselves? The cynical thought troubled me, but past experience made it impossible to dismiss. The family dinner I had reluctantly agreed to was scheduled at a moderately priced restaurant rather than my parents' home. The neutral territory seemed appropriate for what would inevitably be a complicated conversation. I arrived intentionally early, selecting a table with good visibility of the entrance to avoid being caught off guard. My parents appeared exactly on time, looking noticeably older than when I had last seen them. My father's confident posture had diminished, replaced by a slight stoop suggesting the weight of recent stresses. My mother's smile seemed forced, her eyes darting anxiously around the restaurant. Most surprising was Jake's presence trailing behind them. His inclusion had not been mentioned during arrangements, creating immediate suspicion about the true purpose of this reunion. Marvin, my mother breathed, moving to embrace me. You look so grown up. The comment struck me as odd, given that I had left home as a 19-year-old, and now, at 20, was hardly transformed physically. What had changed was something less tangible, a hardened self-reliance that apparently showed in my bearing. Dinner began with painfully artificial small talk, weather observations, comments about the restaurant's decor, awkward inquiries about my general well-being without specific references to work or finances. The elephant in the room grew larger with each minute of avoidance. Finally, my father cleared his throat during a lull in conversation. We've been hearing things about your career. Some kind of technology business? The deliberately casual inquiry confirmed my suspicions. They had orchestrated this meeting with specific financial objectives. Yes, we provide inventory management solutions for retail and distribution businesses. I replied simply. That's wonderful, my mother interjected with exaggerated enthusiasm. We always knew you were smart. Jake maintained uncharacteristic silence, studying me with calculation rather than his usual dismissive attitude. And is business good? My father probed, attempting subtlety, but failing. It's progressing well, I acknowledged without elaboration. How are things with you? The direct question created visible discomfort as they exchanged glances. Well, there have been some challenges, my father admitted reluctantly. The investment in Jake's business didn't yield the expected returns. The monumental understatement hung in the air between us. The market conditions changed unexpectedly. Jake finally contributed, shifting responsibility away from himself. Major competitors entered the space with predatory pricing before we could establish market share. His familiar pattern of externalized blame emerged predictably, avoiding any acknowledgement of fundamental business flaws. The situation has created some financial difficulties. My father continued carefully. The second mortgage has become particularly burdensome. The bank sent another foreclosure notice yesterday, my mother added, tears forming. We have 30 days to bring payments current. The transparent progression toward their actual purpose felt manipulative yet sad. They clearly believed subtle emotional pressure would be more effective than direct honesty. I'm sorry to hear about your difficulties, I offered neutrally. We thought, given your business success, you might be in a position to help family, my father suggested, finally approaching their true objective. A loan to stabilize our situation until we can refinance. Jake nodded encouragingly. Family supporting family, like they tried to teach us. The irony of his statement was breathtaking given the circumstances that had led to my departure. "Let me understand correctly," I began carefully. "You want me to provide financial assistance after taking my college fund without permission and giving it to Jake's business? The same business that has now failed completely?" My mother flinched at the direct reference to their actions. "We made what we thought was the best decision at the time." "For whom?" I asked simply. Uncomfortable silence followed, as they struggled to formulate a response that wouldn't acknowledge the fundamental selfishness of their choice. "We're still your parents," my father finally stated, as though the biological relationship automatically entitled them to ongoing financial support regardless of past betrayals. "You're right about that," I acknowledged, "which is why I've spent considerable time thinking about appropriate boundaries in our relationship moving forward." Their expressions shifted to cautious optimism, interpreting my statement as openness to their request. "I've built something successful despite losing my education opportunity," I continued. "Through hard work, determination, and trusted partnerships with people who have demonstrated actual loyalty." My father nodded encouragingly, missing the implicit criticism. "During that process, I've learned valuable lessons about business ethics and proper financial arrangements," I added, reaching for my briefcase. I withdrew a professionally prepared document and placed it on the table. "This is a formal loan agreement for the exact amount taken from my account without permission, plus standard interest. It includes structured monthly repayments over 5 years and appropriate legal protections for both parties." Their expressions transformed from hopeful to confused. "You want us to repay your college fund before helping with the mortgage?" my father asked incredulously. "I'm treating this exactly as you presented it, a business transaction between family members. The document establishes proper terms rather than vague obligations." Jake scoffed openly. "So you're successful now and want to humiliate your parents who sacrificed everything for your ungrateful." "Sacrificed my education and savings without consent," I interrupted calmly. "This agreement transforms that unauthorized taking into a legitimate loan with proper documentation. It's the first step in establishing trust, which was severely damaged." My mother began crying softly. "We just need help with the mortgage. We could lose our home." "I understand that," I acknowledged, "and I'm prepared to discuss additional financial assistance after this foundation is established. But proper boundaries require acknowledgement of past actions and formal agreements moving forward." My father stared at the document with conflicting emotions visible in his expression. Pride battled with necessity. Authority struggled against vulnerability. "This feels unnecessary between family," he managed finally. "I felt the same about formal agreements, until my college fund was taken without discussion," I replied evenly. "Experience has taught me otherwise." Jake pushed back from the table angrily. "This is ridiculous. He's trying to punish everyone instead of helping. Typical selfish behavior. Actually, I'm offering structured assistance with appropriate protections for all involved," I corrected. "The alternative would be no assistance whatsoever, which remains my right given past treatment." My mother placed a restraining hand on Jake's arm before turning to me with a different expression, one showing the first glimmers of genuine understanding. "You needed us to protect your interests," she said slowly. "Instead, we prioritized Jake's business over your education without even consulting you. I can see why formal agreements feel necessary now." Her unexpected insight created the first moment of authentic connection since my departure a year earlier. My father remained silent for several minutes, pride visibly warring with pragmatism. Finally, he reached for the document. "We'll review the terms and discuss it," he stated formally, unable to fully surrender his parental authority despite their compromised position. "Take whatever time you need," I replied. "My offer remains open regardless of your decision." As we prepared to leave the restaurant, my mother grasped my hand briefly. "We are proud of what you've accomplished, even if we've shown it poorly." The comment contained the closest thing to an apology I had received thus far. It wasn't sufficient to heal the breach of trust, but it represented a small step toward potential reconciliation on new terms. 6 months after the awkward family dinner, I sat in our company's expanded offices reviewing acquisition offers from 3 different technology corporations. The growth trajectory had exceeded even our most optimistic projections, creating valuation numbers that seemed almost surreal compared to our humble beginnings. The terms from Vertex Systems look most promising, Thomas advised, indicating the middle document. Lower headline number, but better earnout structure and strategic alignment. Alexis nodded agreement. Their existing distribution channels complement our product perfectly. Integration would be smoother than with the others. The discussion continued professionally, evaluating various aspects of each proposal. The potential sale would transform my financial situation permanently, while creating new opportunities for our entire team. Yet something felt incomplete about simply cashing out and moving on. What if we decline all three? I asked suddenly. Continue building independently? The question created momentary silence, as Thomas and Alexis exchanged surprised glances. That's certainly your prerogative as majority owner, Thomas acknowledged. But these offers represent exceptional return on investment, the opportunity to secure generational wealth, money that could fund new ventures without external capital constraints, Alexis added practically. Their perspectives were entirely valid. The financial security represented by these offers couldn't be dismissed lightly, yet my motivation had evolved beyond monetary compensation. The company represented something more profound: personal vindication, and the opportunity to build something lasting on my own terms. Let's take another week to consider all options, I suggested, including potential counteroffers that would maintain operational independence while providing liquidity to early stakeholders. Our conversation shifted to current operations, specifically the successful implementation for the national retail chain that had transformed our market position. What began as a 20-location pilot had expanded to all 217 stores nationally, generating reference customers across the retail industry. As the meeting concluded, my phone displayed a notification from my bank. The monthly payment from my parents had arrived on schedule, continuing their perfect repayment record since signing the loan agreement. Their initial reluctance had transformed into scrupulous compliance, perhaps recognizing the arrangement as an opportunity to rebuild fractured trust. Our relationship remained measured but had gradually improved through consistent boundaries and respectful communication. Monthly payments arrived with brief personal notes from my mother. Occasional phone conversations focused on substantive matters rather than superficial pleasantries. The carefully maintained distance provided space for reflection on all sides. Jake had found stable employment with an established pharmaceutical company, abandoning entrepreneurial aspirations for the security of corporate structure. Our interaction remained minimal by mutual choice, but reports from my parents suggested newfound maturity in his approach to work and financial responsibility. The weekend brought a different kind of family, gathering Tyler's wedding. As his oldest friend, I served as best man, delivering a speech celebrating his steadfast loyalty and unwavering support during my most challenging times. The occasion marked my first interaction with extended family since departing home, creating numerous opportunities for well-meaning but awkward conversations. "We hear you're doing remarkably well with some computer business," my uncle remarked during the reception. "Your parents are bursting with pride whenever anyone mentions it." The comment highlighted how narratives evolve to suit preferred perspectives. Their current pride conveniently overlooked their initial dismissal of my potential compared to Jake's ventures. Rather than correcting him, I simply acknowledged their supportive comments with appropriate gratitude. The wedding celebration concluded with promises to maintain better contact with Tyler, despite our increasingly divergent life paths. His friendship had provided critical stability during my darkest moments, a debt I could never fully repay but would always acknowledge. 3 days after the wedding, an unexpected email arrived from my father requesting a private meeting to discuss important matters. The formal tone suggested business rather than personal issues, piquing my curiosity sufficiently to agree. We met at a quiet coffee shop midway between our respective locations. My father arrived precisely on time, carrying a folder of documents and displaying uncharacteristic nervousness. "Thank you for meeting with me," he began formally. "I wanted to discuss 2 matters of significance." I nodded encouragingly, allowing him to proceed at his own pace. "First, your mother and I have been approved for refinancing. The new terms are manageable within our revised budget. The loan payments to you will continue unchanged, but I wanted you to know the immediate crisis has passed." The information was delivered with dignity, rather than expectation of praise or relief. His newfound financial responsibility represented significant personal growth. "That's excellent news," I acknowledged sincerely. "I'm glad things are stabilizing." He nodded before continuing more hesitantly. "The second matter is more personal. Your mother and I have been reflecting extensively on our actions regarding your education fund and the broader pattern it represented." His discomfort was evident as he forced himself to maintain eye contact. "We failed you fundamentally, not just by taking your savings without permission, but by consistently prioritizing Jake's endeavors over your diligent efforts. The contrast between outcomes has forced difficult self-examination. The acknowledgement I had never expected to hear created a complex emotional response mixture of vindication, sadness, and cautious hope for genuine relationship repair. We understand if reconciliation seems impossible," he continued when I remained silent. "But we hope you might consider allowing us to attempt earning back your trust over time, on whatever terms you deem appropriate." The carefully phrased request represented significant evolution from his previous authoritarian stance. The humility required for such an admission could not have come easily to him. "I appreciate your honesty," I replied carefully. "Rebuilding trust requires time and consistent behavior. The loan repayments have been an important first step in demonstrating reliability." He nodded, accepting the measured response without pushing for immediate forgiveness. "I believe continued honest communication and mutual respect can gradually heal much of the damage," I continued. "But certain things must be clearly understood moving forward." His attention focused completely as I outlined essential boundaries. "I make my own decisions without family pressure or manipulation. My career choices, financial matters, and personal relationships remain entirely independent. Respect for these boundaries is non-negotiable." "Absolutely understood," he agreed without hesitation. "And while I'm open to rebuilding our relationship, I cannot simply pretend the betrayal never happened. Trust develops through consistent actions over time, not declarations of intent." The conversation continued for nearly 2 hours, addressing specific issues with unprecedented honesty from both sides. No magical reconciliation occurred, but groundwork was established for gradual relationship repair based on mutual respect rather than obligatory family bonds. As we prepared to leave, my father asked a question that surprised me with its insight. "Has this experience, the betrayal, starting over, building something independently affected how you view your company's future?" The unexpected perceptiveness demonstrated genuine interest in my perspective, rather than self-centered concerns. "It has," I acknowledged. "The acquisition offers are financially compelling, but independence holds significant value after experiencing its absence. Control over my creation matters more than maximizing immediate returns." He nodded thoughtfully. "Your grandfather faced a similar decision with his construction business. Chose independence over a buyout offer. Never regretted it despite the challenges." The comparison represented perhaps his first recognition of legitimate business acumen in my approach, an acknowledgement previously reserved exclusively for Jake's ventures. The following week brought final decisions regarding acquisition offers. After thorough consultation with Alexis and our leadership team, we declined all 3 corporate acquisition proposals. Instead, we negotiated a minority investment that provided liquidity for early stakeholders while maintaining operational independence and majority control. The alternative arrangement allowed Thomas to realize significant returns on his initial investment while enabling our continued independent growth. The compromise satisfied financial objectives without sacrificing the autonomy that had become increasingly precious to me. Life lessons emerged clearly through reflection on the journey from betrayal to success. Trust requires verification, particularly when past actions demonstrate untrustworthiness. Independence provides security that dependence never can. Determination and consistent effort eventually yield results, despite initial setbacks. Most importantly, self-worth must come from within rather than external validation, particularly from those who have proven unwilling to prioritize your well-being. The company continues growing steadily, expanding into additional product lines while maintaining the client-centered approach that distinguished us initially. Relationship with my parents progresses cautiously through consistent boundary maintenance and honest communication. Complete reconciliation remains uncertain, but mutual respect has replaced manipulation and resentment. The education I received through adversity ultimately proved more valuable than the degree I originally sought, not simply in financial terms, though those results exceeded any likely outcome from traditional education, but through development of resilience, self-reliance, and discernment regarding genuine loyalty versus conditional support. Have you ever faced betrayal from those you trusted most? How did you respond to maintain your dignity while creating your own path forward? The journey from devastation to triumph rarely follows a straight line, but determination and self-belief provide essential foundation for lasting success. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to see more stories of overcoming adversity, and share with anyone who might need inspiration during challenging times. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember that setbacks, even devastating ones, often lead to unexpected opportunities when approached with courage and persistence.